I know we talked about this a little bit as well, but a lot of infrastructure has been built around physical, right? You've got doctors' offices that are idle or literally shuttered at this point. You got hospitals preparing for surges that, kind of never came. I just wonder how you think about capacity and utilization.
It's a good question. And I think most of us, when we imagine a doctor's office or a doctor's waiting room, at least, don't think of it as a place that we would like to be in while COVID is present in society.
For sure.
Right? With the costs of physical contact being high, the idea of having multiple people in a waiting room or in a line isn't going to work. And so that entire physical plant needs to be rethought. Let me give you an example from cardiology of how one group is thinking about it. So in cardiology, your patient population, you're going to have stable patients who are routinely coming in every 6 months or so. And then you're going to have aggravated cases where someone's got an arrhythmia that's out of control or a new patient. Mm-hmm. So one cardiologist who's a colleague of mine was talking to me. He said that what he's done is moved the stable visits to phone or video so that he can bring the aggravated visits in 1 per hour into his waiting room.
Interesting.
So he can do the testing and stuff that he needs to do, but he puts the packing peanut visits, if you want, like the lower acuity stuff, out onto virtual. So his virtual mix ends up being 60-70%. But by doing that, he makes everyone more safe. Now, I'll give you one more example, though, because you can't do that for everything, right? So there's a bunch of stuff you can do that for. But if you need an injection in your eye to control your wet macular degeneration, well, that really does require physical contact. Right. And more directly, it requires physical contact with one of about 100 people. So you may have to restructure that visit in a different way.
So you're I replaced the router in my house. The Bell tech came to my door, put it on the stoop, and told me how to plug it in. You're saying we can't do that with eye injections?
Well, it's fascinating because in some areas you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a great set of posts on social media recently where a group of docs were talking about well baby visits. And they were talking about, which of the visits of months 1, 2, 4, 6, 9, 12, which ones could be virtual and which ones couldn't. Because if a visit needed a vaccination, you had to do that in person or find a way to deliver that in person. But if all it was a checkup with mom and baby and some coaching and measuring, the size of the head and the length of the baby, you could actually do that virtually. And so what they were doing, again, back to this idea of how do we make the physical space safe, by taking some of the visits and moving them virtual, you make the physical visits safer for the people who must have physical contact. There's certainly no doubt that there will be people in the health system who must have physical contact. How do we make them safe, and how do we drive those changes as we reopen the health system?